Daniel, we're live.
Do
you have anything you want to say?
Yes.
What?
It's sick.
What do you want to say?
No, mom.
What?
Mom.
Oh, mom. Okay, mom's going to do it. Okay, we're here live from Jerusalem with Daniel.
Me.
And
Mimi
and Gong Gong.
Abba.
Mimi and Gong Gong.
No.
Yeah, Dad's not here though.
Abba.
Dad's not here. We're waiting for Lucas and Raya's over there. Maybe she'll come out.
No.
We'll see. No. But anyway, do we have news tonight or what?
I'm back.
It's Saturday night.
You're good.
It's Saturday night, and
Mom.
what did we see?
You're good.
The girl.
It's sick.
The girl was sick. Yes.
Bad sick.
So,
Bad.
yes.
Yeah.
Daniel is
Mom.
mixing movie with reality, but it's very true what he's saying.
Right, not.
Not nice. It was not nice
No,
what
not
happened.
at all.
Not nice at all what
Not
happened.
bad.
Because
No.
we're just getting reports now of 9 children said to be killed in Gaza
Stop.
in another attack and in Khan Yunis.
Stop.
And
Mimi.
okay,
Stop.
Daniel.
Stop.
Daniel, we're gonna stop. Yeah, we're praying the war will stop,
We're good.
right? So 9 kids said to be killed in Khan Yunis, and also in other. I'm gonna get to the details, but in other headlines, there will possibly be a hostage release within the next 10 days, but it's probably not anybody that you're thinking of. And we'll get to that headline too. There is also, there are massive protests going on all around Israel. It's the usual Saturday night protests. And that, that's going on in Tel Aviv, probably in Jerusalem, though I haven't yet seen the pictures in Jerusalem. That's right. Be quiet. Be quiet. Because we're recording. And where else? Well, other areas of Israel, I don't have all, but crazy protests right now. We saw the signs right now. It says, one sign said Bibi Escobar, comparing Netanyahu to Pablo Escobar. Another sign was not, right? What was not nice?
Not at all.
Which part's not nice? The sign or the person it's about? Or the bunny? Okay. The other sign was Trump, save us from Netanyahu. Did you see that sign? And what else? Okay, so we have all of that going on. The Israeli army is widening its operation now in Gaza, and we're actually watching some of the. We're watching some of that right now. Let me see what this is all about. And also more airlines, by the way, have canceled. They've canceled their or to have delayed. Oh, look, we're all caught up now. They've actually delayed their return to Israel. I think British Airways, they canceled their flights through mid-July. I mean, it's insane. So anyway, all right, so let's go back to the beginning. No, first we're going to talk about the fact that long before there were hostages from October 7th, and there are still 58 left of the original 250 plus. There was Elizabeth Surkov. Am I saying her name right? Let me see if I'm saying her name right, because it's Surkov, at least in English. I hope I'm saying it right. Elizabeth Surkov is an Israeli citizen. She's a researcher. I think she's a professor, and she voluntarily entered Iraq. She went to Iraq a couple years ago. I think it's about 2 years ago. I think it was the summer 2 years ago, and she entered Iraq, and she was kidnapped by pro-Iranian forces or militias there, and she has been held ever since. And I remember at the time I saw even her sister I'm not sure if she also has American citizenship or she originally is from Russia. There's like a Russian connection. There might be, she has some kind of American connection, whether she taught there or something. I'm not sure. But she's been held there. And then when October 7th happened, nobody remembered Elizabeth Surkov. I mean, her story just went, like, there were a couple signs of life and other things, but like, it was not the main news for the longest time. She has, I think she's written papers or whatever. You can check her out. Her name in English is Surkov, and you can see what she's written about and what she was trying to research. I think she was researching Iraq, like she was some expert in the Middle East and in Iraq. All right, so something else that is going on now are the protests. Now, something happened this week. I alluded to it a little bit in one of my videos earlier this week, that the one of the oh my gosh, Dot, do you remember Daniel? Because Daniel's sitting right here, and I will tell Lucas that Dot is watching, but he wasn't in your class. Like, Daniel was in Israel's class, right?
No.
Your brother. Yes, you were with Israel in class up till like second grade or third grade. I don't know when you guys. I will tell him, Dot. Thank you for tuning in, and hello, Bethany. That's how awesome. Yes, Lucas isn't here right now, but I will tell him when he gets here that you're watching. Okay, so earlier this week, Yair Golan, who is the head of the party called the Democrats, and he's like, he's not the head of the opposition, but it's like very left-wing party, the most left-wing of the Israeli parties. He said, he made a statement on, I think it was a radio interview, where he said, you know, how much longer can this country, this country basically said that Israel has made it a hobby of killing babies. And he was referring to the war in Gaza. And so, of course, like, that generated such division here in Israel. I mean, most people, like, condemnations like crazy, like, that how could he say something? And then, of course, people took the lines like, how can you say that about the army? And then he said, I'm not saying it about the army. I'm saying it about the government itself, about Netanyahu's government, about people like, and then there are quotes. Wow, where is that article? Because I can actually, it was a video I watched where he had somebody listed all the quotes where people like Smotrich, Sukkot, Ben Gvir, maybe Sanhar Melech, all had these statements where they said, burn Gaza to the ground. Not one citizen is innocent. Everybody there is Hamas, and all of these statements. And he was basically saying, I mean, he said he defended his statement by saying that they are basically calling, he said, how are we any different? They're calling for the genocide of a people, and in declaring that they're all guilty and not one is innocent. So how do we, who suffered a genocide, justify language like this? And so that's what he said. Now, of course, he's been condemned and criticized by a lot of politicians across the board. In fact, I just saw on the news the ambassador, I think his name is Leitner, from Israel to the U.S. or that he said that he condemned it as well, and he said that there is always a place to criticize a government, but then there's a line that's crossed, and so he said, you know, this line was crossed, and you can't say this. I also saw another person where she's a lawyer, and she said that this is like you're engendering a blood libel, which was, of course, always used against the Jewish people in a very anti-Semitic way. And she said, and it's things like this that led to, of course, the murder, the cold-blooded murder of the two Israeli diplomats who were, by the way, like a German Israeli Christian Messianic that is being debated in the believing circles here. I mean, he's definitely a believer, but whether he considers himself Christian or Messianic, either way, he was both, maybe. And then an American Jew, Sarah Milgram. So Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram were cold-blooded murdered in Washington, D.C., outside the Jewish Museum last week. And of course, that by an American who said free Palestine, and has this manifesto, that's allegedly his, that was, I saw printed somewhere on Substack, that where he said that he basically equated what he was doing to the revenge that people took as uprisings against like the Nazis, that, looking back, like, oh yes, of course, that was wonderful, thank God people rose up against the Nazis and killed them. And he said that this is, basically is needed to rise up against Israel because of as he says, they're committing a genocide. So anyway, so this lawyer who's Israeli said that Yair Golan's statements were directly feeding into these blood libels that is feeding the violence of the anti-Israel or the pro-Palestine cause. So anyway, this has totally divided Israel as well. And then, Israel was already divided well before October 7th, but then you see like the protests out there. I just see the signs that one of them says, so it's a take on an old statement or bumper sticker that was out there for a long time that said in Hebrew, Ha'am im HaGolan, the people with the Golan Heights, like we should have the Golan Heights, it's ours, whatever, it was a political statement back then. And now the protest signs are Ha'am im Yair Golan. And here, you want to get it? It's Dad. Im Yair Golan. So saying the people with Yair Golan, we agree with him. We agree with him. I'm doing a live. Hey, we're on live. Tony's on live from elsewhere, a location, undisclosed location. Very interesting. Okay. So anyway, just totally pulling apart the fabric of Israeli society even further. Now, here is something else that happened today, which is absolutely insane. Today, there were phone calls placed to people, all to Israeli numbers, and it was like a cyber attack. Phone calls, unknown numbers are to people all across Israel. Today is the Sabbath, and a lot of people don't even have their phones on. But the phone calls, when people answered, were the sound of hostages, of Israeli hostages in Gaza crying for help, saying we're being attacked. And it was like you heard bombs in the background. They said it's the Israeli army is attacking, help us, save us, tell them to stop. And it was like this insane psychological warfare cyber attack that went across the Israeli phone system. So that was insane. I'm going to tell you another thing. I've got another thing, because I know some of you might find this hard to believe, but here's an article based on a Channel 12 poll. Channel 12 is one of the Israeli stations, granted left wing, but here's what the results of their poll said. Most Israelis believe Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is more interested in remaining in power than winning the war or freeing hostages, according to an Israeli television poll aired Friday night. Asked what Netanyahu believes, by the way, I'm reading from the Times of Israel. Asked what Netanyahu believes is his main goal, 55% of respondents to the Channel 12 news survey said staying in power. 36% said returning the hostages, and 9% said they weren't sure. When returning the hostages was swapped for, quote, winning the war, the responses remained roughly the same. Asked why there had not been another hostage deal, 53% of respondents cited political reasons, while 38% said legitimate reasons, and 9% were unsure. So then we spoke very little bit about Netanyahu's press conference this week. I think it was Wednesday night. What day did you guys arrive? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So it was Wednesday night. So I didn't even get a chance to really watch it in full. So asked whether Netanyahu generally managed to convince them in his press conference this week, 62% of respondents said he did not. 34% said he did, and 4% were unsure. Okay, and then there's still to bring up the Qatar Gate affair, which so that brings us to another thing. Another thing is that, let me see if I have an article about this up.
Yes, like I said. Yeah.
No, I don't. I got to tell you about the Houthis, though. Okay. The article. Wait, what was I going to tell you about? Qatar.
Oh no.
Something else I was going to tell you about. Too bad it's in my mind and I didn't tell you guys because now. Okay, but there's one more thing from this series I was going to tell you is that since the U.S. made peace with the Houthis a couple of weeks ago, and since Israel, ramped up its fighting in Gaza, there have been 41 ballistic missiles launched at Israel from Yemen by the Houthis. Many crashed en route. 23 caused sirens across a lot of the country, and many of them occurred overnight between midnight and 7 a.m., including 2 nights ago. And my parents were here on Thursday. They had their very first missile air raid siren. It was wonderful, right? Welcome. It was a nice welcome. They had been in the country for less than 24 hours and were at a falafel stand getting falafel with Raya, actually, with my daughter. And they, suddenly she was, the guys were talking, the guys at the falafel stand had said they must have gotten the early alert, and they said, oh, there's going to be a siren. And so my daughter was like, oh, there's going to be a siren. And then there was a siren, and nobody moved. Nobody on the street moved. Oh, can somebody get the door? It's Lucas. Nobody on the street moved. They all just continued like, oh, what do you guys want in your falafel? Okay, whatever. And then my parents were like, Raya, what are we supposed to do? And she goes, well, it's kind of low. I mean, we can hardly hear it, so it's probably far away. And so they just continued like everybody else and just said, okay, yeah, put hummus, tahina, whatever on the falafel, and just took it back to their apartment, and that was it. That was it. That was the whole siren. Like everybody else was running for the shelter. I got 1,000 messages from each kid's school times 25. Yeah, the kids are fine. Everybody's in the shelter. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's running, but no, they're not. So there you go. Anyway, your building doesn't have a shelter, so nothing you could do anyway. Enjoy your falafel. Okay. Let me back it up. What else? Should I? You guys have anything? You have anything? There was something I was going to say.
Well, anything with Steve Witkoff or any more?
I haven't heard from him in about a week, interestingly enough. But there was some kind of negotiation. They had a follow-up talk with Iran. And I think that went nowhere. Let me see. They met yesterday, 5th round of nuclear talks with Iran. Where was it? Was it in Rome? It was in Rome with the Iranian foreign minister, but it was considered, quote, complicated.
Oh.
And he said Aragaci or Aragaci. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm giving him an Italian spin. Abbas Aragaci, the foreign minister of Iran, said the negotiations are too complicated to be resolved in 2 or 3 meetings. And okay. So in the meantime, you know about the terror attack / murder on the Israeli couple that in DC. Murdered in cold blood on the street. One was an American Jew who worked for the embassy, Sarah Milgram, and the other one, Yaron Lashinsky, who is a German Israeli who moved to Israel when he was 16. He grew up in Germany, moved here when he was 16. We have a lot of mutual friends, actually. I saw on Facebook recently, I know his brother works at All Israel News, and I just found out that his father is a tour guide and here in Israel, and has so anyway, it was just like found out a lot about him in retrospect, but a really good friend who a lot of people knew him. But they were murdered by Elias, I think Elias Rodriguez was his name, and Yaron's body was flown back to Israel yesterday, and I think the funeral is tomorrow night. So anyway, he comes from a mixed Christian and Messianic family, or Christian and Jewish. But also, with a lot of overlap in the Jewish world, the Christian world, and in the diplomatic world. Let me see. Also the last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll end it for tonight because people need to go to bed around here.
No.
Yes. You need to go to bed. I'm talking about myself, but you do too. No, it's not. I am talking about them, but I do need to go to bed. There's a mosquito on my computer. I can slam it down right now, and I won't though. Okay, is the humanitarian aid going to Gaza? Oh my gosh! Hi, Debbie. Debbie, by the way, did you hear that Mimi and Gong Gong are here? Because I don't know if you missed that part, but they just said hi. And you probably hear Daniel. He's on a roll right now. Okay, humanitarian aid into Gaza. So up until since Israel ended its 10-week blockade on humanitarian aid going into Gaza, they've let in now 388 trucks, and many. It's not enough to overcome the lack of the 10 weeks or the hoarding of it by Hamas, which has happened. And so it's a lose-lose situation. You send it in, the people don't get it anyway. Debbie said they're on their way. Sometimes they don't get it anyway because of Hamas, but in any case, they're I see a lot of the pro-Israel media showing selected videos and of videos and pictures and news stories of Gazans eating well or having a lot of food in their market. But it really does a disservice to the truth to show the selected, just to show, just to prove, like, see, Israel did nothing wrong. Nobody's starving in Gaza, because the truth is there's not just starving. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of destruction going on right now. And we just watched, because somebody showed like this whole big pita production. Well, they just got flour for the first time. So of course they're finally making pitas, but the people were so desperate for them, and they were mobbing the bakery, that they were just throwing packets of pitas into the crowd. And another thing is I follow the news from the Gaza Baptist Church and from a ministry there in Gaza that is trying to get hot meals to people. And so that is one thing that they did. I'll just read you from that as well. So can you imagine what it feels like as a parent to be unable to protect your children, and even worse, to not have a hot meal to offer them? That is the painful reality for so many families in Gaza during this devastating time. Our hearts are heavy. The suffering has gone on far too long, and the world's response has remained far too quiet. Yet, even in the midst of hardship, there are glimmers of grace. And then this ministry, I don't know if they want to be named, so I'm not going to say it, but they provided 3,000 hot meals earlier this month, reaching families in the south, the middle, and the north of Gaza. Anyway, I am not going to show you the videos or pictures because I didn't ask permission first whether or not I could send this. But I will read to you a testimonial that's translated from Arabic from a 15-year-old boy, where he says, I extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to the church and to everyone who contributed to providing us with food. It has been a source of joy and safety for us in these hard times. Thank you for your humanity and your care. With all gratitude and appreciation, a child from Gaza. So anyway, that is what I will leave you with today. To you see there's just a lot of angst on both sides. There's still 58 hostages, so that's why you see the families of the hostages out here protesting right now. And you see the divisions, but you also see the suffering in Gaza. Debate it or not, there is suffering in Gaza. So anyway, I'll leave you with that for now. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. And Lucas, Dot is watching. Dot says hi. I don't know if you lasted this long, Dot, but if you did, thank you. Thank you very much. You might be the best. All right. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Ciao. And if you found this informative, subscribe and share this video to get the word out to other people. I don't think a lot of people hear the nitty gritty that's going on here. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'll catch you later.